That brings us to the final speaker, Rezaul Karim. He's an advocate of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, a political analyst, an activist, and a proponent for Islamic revival. The question I'm going to ask him to address is, what role should religion play in shaping electoral politics and policy making in Bangladesh? And I assume when we say religion, we're primarily speaking about Islam. So that's his topic, inshallah. I'll invite Karim Bhai to come to the podium.
Thank you for inviting me to this important discussion. Dear brothers, I welcome you all. Today's discussion regarding the election of Bangladesh and the question of which way forward, and couldn't be more timely than this. The question I'm asked to explore is the role of religion in this election. Before I dive down to the main discussion, let me just explore what the role of religion in our society and the role of election separately. Bangladesh, as you know, predominantly a Muslim populated nation. Though we've been ruled by secular system for 270 years now, but the people still hold on to the Islam. They have the faith, the Aqidah, in the community level and the society level, in a personal level. People's thinking, people's emotion, people's thoughts are shaped by religion. And recent times, it has even increased. Because in the very recent times, in last 10 years or so, we observe that it's not only the people from the madrasa background, it's from all walks of the life, from all background, from the university student, the mainstream people, they all are interested about Islam, people studying Islam. This is because probably the failure of the Western system around the world, because of the exposure of the Western hypocrisy, especially the treatment towards the Muslim and the issue of Gaza. People are now more and more interested about Islam. Bangladesh, as you know, predominantly a Muslim populated nation. Though we've been ruled by secular system for 270 years now, but the people still hold on to the Islam. They have the faith, the Aqidah, in the community level and the society level, in a personal level. People's thinking, people's emotion, people's thoughts are shaped by religion. And recent times, it has even increased. Because in the very recent times, in last 10 years or so, we observe that it's not only the people from the madrasa background, it's from all walks of the life, from all background, from the university student, the mainstream people, they all are interested about Islam, people studying Islam. This is because probably the failure of the Western system around the world, because of the exposure of the Western hypocrisy, especially the treatment towards the Muslim and the issue of Gaza. People are now more and more interested about Islam. So my point is people have 100% subscription to Islam. There's no doubt about it. Now let's look at the role of election. What an election can do. Sometimes we are, we expect more than what an election can do. Election is a tool through which we can get a new leadership. But through the election, if we expect that we will make a fundamental change in the system, or it will bring a structural change, that will be a wrong thinking, because it has its own limitation. It can bring new faces, but not the new system. And this is not only about Bangladesh. If we look at the history of the mankind, we will, the history will testify this, that election could never bring a fundamental change to any society. So upcoming election, though there is a lot of expectation, and people, because in Bangladesh we celebrate election like a festival. People are sad that we could not vote for last three elections. So for this election, though there are some enthusiasm that people will go and vote, but at the same time, as my other fellow panelists mentioned, that there is a doubt that whether people will come down to the election for vote. Why is so? To understand this, we need to look back the revolution or the uprising that happened in 2024, what we call July Revolution. In the July Revolution, people had the expectation that we will not go back to the old system again. The system that produces fascist ruler like Hasina, the tyrant rulers, the system that did not ensure people's economic justice, the price hike and our natural resources was exploited by the foreign powers. People did not want to go back to the same corrupt system, the corruption which has been institutionalized over the time. So people wanted to get rid of this system, and most importantly, people wanted to get rid of the foreign interference in our country, especially by India and the Western powers. So these are the very legitimate expectation people had, and they demanded it. They made it very loud and clear. The voice was very loud and clear that we don't want to go back to the same system. We want justice, we want our dignity, we want our sovereignty, and we want our security, because in the current reality of the world, if we do not stand for our own system and own security system, then our sovereignty is under threat in the current reality. Because in India, if we look at the India, over the last few decades, there has been a anti-Bangladeshi sentiment because of their Hinduttavadi ideology, with which they want to establish the Akhand Bharat, the greater India they want to establish, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all the way to Makkah, Medina. So this is their ideology they want to establish. So in that climate, if we do not ensure our security, our development, our military equipment and military industry, our sovereignty will be under threat. So the people wanted all these things. So people wanted an economic system that will ensure the better utilization of our natural resources, that will ensure the emancipation of our economy from the classes of the Western institutions like IMF, World Bank. People wanted a judiciary system that will deliver justice based on the Islamic principle. Because in the current system, the system we have under the liberal democratic, secular democratic system, the judiciary being used as a political weapon to suppress the opponents. So people wanted to get rid of this system and wanted a fair system that can ensure justice. People wanted a good governance which they can account not only on the day of vote, but all the time they can account the ruler during the time of the Khilafah Rashida. The people could account the ruler, any people could account, and there was no institutional corruptions. So people wanted that sort of governance where the rights of the people, rights of the minorities, rights of the other religion, the women's rights, all will be ensured. So all this expectation, from all this expectation, people are very clear that this expectation can only be met by changing the current system. So it requires a fundamental change. It requires a structural change. So the kind of reforms they are proposing, the current political parties, through the current election and the referendum, is just a cosmetic reforms. And this kind of reforms, this kind of promise we had before. Even the Sheikh Hasina, when she came to the power, she gave a lot of promises to the people. And her predecessor, other rulers also gave the promises. But this kind of cosmetic change will not bring a fundamental change, and the change that is needed for ensure our good governance, to ensure our sovereignty and security. So that is why I think that the election has its limitation. With this kind of election, the kind of change we need now in the current climate, in the current political situations, it is not possible to achieve. So that is why people, as my other panelists mentioned, that whether the people will come to the vote center or not is remain to be seen, because even if they come, and I would say that is not going to be the end of the world, because sometimes people think that if we vote for, and that is for 5 years, we are done. But the kind of change the people are expecting, it is not going to come through the election. For this, we need to prepare ourselves, and a different program we need. Inshallah, I will explore this during the Q&A session. Jazakallah khair for listening.